vlog through the lens of a married millennial mama in hopes that my experience resonates with you and brings you community and encouragement. April is National Cesarean Awareness Month, and the goal of this video is to support expectant moms as I talk about some of the physical, psychological, and emotional elements that come to play when giving birth via C-section. Now, there are many reasons that an expectant mom may elect to or be required to have a C-section. Some of those most common reasons are you could have already had a C-section in your past. Your baby could be breached or in an awkward position that doesn't allow them to come through vaginally. You could be carrying multiples, twins, for example. Your placenta could be covering your cervix, blocking the birth canal. You could have underlying health issues such as high blood pressure or fibroids. You could have an infection that may pass to your baby vaginally if you give birth that way. Or you or your baby could have underlying medical conditions. Whatever the reason, we're here now. In my case, I was diagnosed with placenta previa at 16 weeks. A placenta previa is a condition where your placenta stays in the lower part of your uterus throughout the duration of your pregnancy. So it could either partially cover or fully cover your cervix, which blocks the birth canal, and you can't obviously have a baby that way, right? Your birth canal is blocked, your cervix is blocked, the baby cannot come through. We say that it's normal for your placenta to lie low during pregnancy. However, as your baby grows, the placenta normally moves upward and out of the way. In my case, that did not happen. So I was at my ultrasound. It was my 20-week ultrasound. Well, I found out I had a placenta previa at 16 weeks. My doctor told me, don't worry, it's potential that it could move, it could not move, we just have to see. So a month goes by, I'm at my 20-week appointment, praying to God that it is moved. Unfortunately, it had not moved, and it was in the same place, fully covering my cervix. When you're diagnosed with placenta previa, your doctor will more than likely schedule you to deliver a month earlier or at 36 weeks. They do that because they don't want to run the risk of life-threatening bleeding that could occur if you were to go into labor naturally when you've already been diagnosed with the previa. So think about it. If you allow yourself to go into labor naturally, your baby's trying to come out, but your placenta is blocking your birth canal. Therefore, your baby is pushing down on the placenta, putting the baby's life in danger and your life in danger as well. Some of the risks of placenta previa include extra blood loss during delivery. You may need to have a blood transfusion. You may be admitted to the ICU if you're bleeding too much. The need for a C-section with a hysterectomy could also occur if your bleeding does not stop after delivery. So those are some really scary risks that you run when you have a placenta previa, which is why it's considered high risk. Some women are more likely to have placenta previa if they have had a previa in the past, if they have had several previous C-sections, if you are a smoker, if you are of an advanced age and you're having a baby later in life, or if you've had IVF before. Now, just because you are of an advanced age or you smoke or you've had IVF, it doesn't mean that you're going to have a previa. It just increases the risk that you may. So now that we've established the medical definition, let's talk a little bit about some of my more personal examples. Okay, tomorrow we are bringing my baby into the world. This is the last pregnant belly video. I am officially 9 months as of yesterday. 36 weeks. So when my doctor first told me I had to have a C-section, I was devastated. I'm gonna be honest. Every time I thought about being pregnant, having a baby, I just knew I was gonna do it vaginally. I wanted to do it vaginally. Hell, I wanted to have an at-home water birth, but my husband was like, I don't know about that one. Honestly, I was devastated. I talked to my friends who had had C-sections in the past. None of them had ever even heard of a Previa. I went to YouTube to try to find more information. And to be honest, there weren't a lot of personal accounts of people who've had Previas. There were some, but not very many, which is one thing that prompted me to do this video so that more examples of people with Previas can be out there in the world. Because a lot of times when I told people I have a Previa, they're like, what the hell is that? I cried and I cried and I cried to the point I felt silly, like, why am I crying? This isn't a death sentence. Like, I believe I was more upset about having to be cut than the Previa itself. Also, when I was diagnosed, I had to lower my activity level. At the time, I was pregnant and I had a influencer partnership with Pure Barre. So I was going to barre class. I was saying, you know, I'm gonna stay in shape this whole pregnancy. I'm gonna be active. I'm gonna, you know, prepare myself for birth. None of that, okay? Previa shut me all the way down. Previa set me all the way down. I had to cancel my influencer partnership and tell them, hey, I've been diagnosed with this condition. I'm high risk. I can't even move forward with this at the time. I had to tell them I had to put the campaign on pause and start back up once I had given birth. Another thing that was very emotional for me when I found out that I had a Previa is the fact that I was told that my baby was gonna be born at 36 weeks instead of 40, which is full term, or, you know, whenever he felt like coming. My original due date was January the 25th, and I had him on December the 30th. So that's really scary. I mean, emotionally, I'm nervous. What does that mean for my son? Is he gonna be able to come home with me? Is he gonna be in a NICU? There were so many thoughts swirling around my head because anytime I hear a baby being born early, it's not good, right? Like, babies are in the NICU for a long time, and I was fearful of that. I was fearful of giving birth and not being able to bring my son home with me. I just I couldn't even imagine that feeling. So I pushed that thought out of my head. That was the furthest thing from my mind because I didn't want it to materialize just because of my thoughts. So I tried to suppress that feeling as much as I could, but I was still really scared. I didn't want the scar. I'ma just be honest. I am somebody who prides myself on looks, as vain as that may sound. It's the truth. I didn't want to be cut. I didn't want to have a scar. I had never broken any bones in my life. I have never had to have any type of real surgery, you know, broken bones, or, you know, I didn't want that reminder of the physical trauma that I went through to be on me every single day. So there were a lot of emotions that stemmed from, you know, not being able to have my son in the way that I felt was right, the way I wanted to do it, and just having all those things out of my control. So it was a really emotional time. Physiologically, I dealt with a lot also. I had a lot of anxiety during this time, and I'm not a person who is anxious a lot or has dealt with, you know, anxiety or depression or anything like that. So this was just a new feeling for me. I was anxious all the time. I knew I had to have him a month early, but I was not mentally prepared for the amount of time that he would be taken away from me after birth. Now, my doctor did tell me when you have a C-section, you get to hold your baby for a moment, but then he will be taken. The fact that he was born early, he was not with me right after he was born. He may have been in the room with us for 20 minutes. They took him out, they gave him to his dad, handed him to me a little bit, weighed him, cleaned him up, and whisked him away. I gave birth to Carson at 7:25 a.m. in the morning. I had to be at the hospital at 5 a.m. and I did not see him again until 6:25 p.m. Now, that's a long time as a first-time mom to give birth and not see your child again. Where is my child? I'm over here thinking somebody trying to switch my baby out. They trying to take my child. Lord, where is my baby? Is somebody trying to steal him? Now, I know nobody was trying to steal him, but it was just so many things. I was anxious. There were so many thoughts swirling through my head because it was just the unknown. It was a situation I had never been in before. It was scary. They kept him so long because he had low glucose levels, and they would not allow him to come to my room until his glucose levels tested normal 3 times. So when he finally tested normal, they allowed him to come to the room at 6 o'clock at night. Y'all know I was mad. I was mad as hell. That was just very mentally traumatizing. Nobody needs to go through that. Nobody needs to be away from their baby for that long after they give birth. Not even my worst enemy. Another thing that made me anxious was my doctor told me that since my son was being born early, there was a possibility that he would be 1 to 2 months behind in his development. What does that mean? Does that mean that he wouldn't crawl on time? He wouldn't walk on time? He wouldn't talk on time? What does that mean? 1 to 2 months behind in his development. That's all she could say. Of course, she doesn't know. She can't tell me exactly what's gonna happen. She's just trying to prepare me for what could happen. But I rebuke that in the name of Jesus. And just so y'all know, my baby is 15 months now. He's on track. He is fine. He is smart as a whip. And so he is not behind. When he was born, he was 5.5 pounds. And obviously that was because he still had a month to go. He came out like, it ain't time, it ain't time. So he was small, he was tiny, but thank God, all the prayers from my family, all the prayers I prayed over myself, he was able to come home with me in the hospital for 2 days, came home, everything was fine. So again, they may tell you these things may happen, but every baby is different. Just because those are risks that involve doesn't mean that it's going to happen. I hope that this is helping you calm your anxiety a little bit, but nobody was there to help me, child, so I'm just doing my part. I'm doing the Lord's work right now. Now, some of the physical things that took place after I had my C-section was my blood pressure. My blood pressure shot through the roof. I mean, the roof. And it stayed high for the next 5 weeks. Very, very scary. Now, right after I gave birth, I told you, they cleaned Carson up, took him away to the nursery. Meanwhile, I'm in a recovery room. They take you to a recovery room before you get to go to your assigned room that you'll be in until you're discharged. And I stayed in recovery for almost 3 hours because they could not get my blood pressure down. It was very high. It was like 176 over 123. Now, I've never had any serious health issues ever. And there's a little sign on the wall right next to the bed that says 180 for that first number is like extreme danger. And I'm over here looking at the machine like, okay, mine says 176 and you telling me 180 is danger? I had no words. I was crying. I was scared. I was scaring my husband. He was calm, but I could tell he was a little scared too because I was freaking out so bad. When you've never been in a situation like this and you know the risk of having high blood pressure and postpartum preeclampsia, you freak out because that is a very serious condition that can happen, postpartum preeclampsia. And I have heard horror stories about that. And I know I didn't want to get to that point, but however, there was nothing that I could do to physically lower my own blood pressure besides trying to stay calm and waiting it out. I do recommend that all postpartum moms, whether you gave birth via C-section or vaginally, I do recommend that you purchase a at-home blood pressure monitor. You can get one off Amazon. I'll link it below. That way you can check your blood pressure daily, check it hourly, whatever you need to do to stay on top of your blood pressure and making sure that your levels are normal, because you do not want to get into a place where you are at risk of postpartum preeclampsia and you don't take the initiative to go to the hospital and get that taken care of. You don't want to be at home and your blood pressure is through the roof and something happens and you're not monitoring it and you don't know what's going on. Having a C-section, I would say that the recovery wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. The advice I received from other moms who have had C-sections in the past was to walk as soon as you possibly could. So while I'm in my room waiting on my son to come, whenever that's going to be, I made it a point to say, before I even got to the hospital, I'm going to walk as soon as I can. So when I was in my room waiting, I got up, I walked to the bathroom, I walked around a little bit. I didn't overwork myself, but I did want to have a little bit of movement because you want to prevent blood clots. Anyway, you don't want blood clots. You don't want postpartum preeclampsia. You want to move and get your body in motion, not overworking yourself, but just having a little bit of movement just to prevent blood clotting. And actually, you know what? The scar ain't as bad as I thought it was going to be. My doctor, honey, she had that wrist work. Let me tell you, it's small. It's maybe this wide. It has lightened up over time. I did use postpartum C-section silicone scar strips. So as soon as my staples dissolved, my surgical tape came off, I was able to, it was healed, right? It was healed for the most part. I started to use the silicone strips and those did help to flatten and lighten it. I won't say it was like drastic, but it helped. I also used postpartum underwear from Belly Bandit, so compression underwear. That was really helpful because you're gonna have a lot of water weight. You're gonna have a lot of swelling. I mean, anybody who has just had a baby is still going to have that little bit of belly down there. And so I wanted to make sure that I had C-section compression underwear that had the strip so your scar is able to breathe. I didn't want to do anything that was gonna prevent my scar from healing like it was supposed to do. I didn't want it to accidentally open. I didn't want anything to happen. I wanted to heal. So I got as prepared as I could, bought the compression underwear, bought the silicone scar sheets. I had everything sitting on my bedside so that when I came home, I was able to take care of that C-section scar the best way that I could so that it could heal neatly and as best as it could so that I could have the best outcome. Because like I said, I was scared of that scar, I ain't gonna lie, but it's not that bad. I can still wear thongs, I can still wear bikinis, I can pretty much wear anything and you can't see it. I mean, nobody's really up close to me like that anyway but my husband, but it's not really that visible with my clothes or bikini or my minimal clothes that I wear around the house on. And at this point, it's pretty flat. It's still a little dark, but it's lightening up, I'll say that. Another thing, when you have your C-section scar, baby, that thing itches. I'm 15 months postpartum and this scar itches every single day. I'm like, is this normal? I Googled it. Lots of moms itch around their C-section scar. And it's not anything that's terrible or gonna distract you from your day, but it is something that you notice like, wow, this scar is itching a lot. Like, it's itching. So it itches. Why? I don't know, but it itches. I get regular waxes. So waxing over your scar is painful. The first time I got waxed, and I've been getting waxed for 10 years, it don't hurt me anymore. You can snatch a lip and I'll just be like, okay. But when they wax that scar, Woo, I screamed. It still hurts. I get waxes once a month, and that area is still very sensitive. And what my wax lady has told me is that that's not gonna change. It's gonna forever be sensitive. Now, it doesn't hurt as bad as it did when it was newer, but it still hurts. Now, when I was freshly postpartum, I will say I was a little more self-conscious about my C-section scar. But now that I am back to my regular size, I feel like I look great. I don't think about it as much. I guess it's just one of those things where, you know, when you're not feeling your best self and then you're like, oh, and I have this scar, it can get you down. But mama, don't let it get you down. You will be back to yourself in a couple months. Just think about it. This is postpartum, the moment you give birth up until your child turns 1 year old. When you look back, that time's gonna go back so fast. It's gonna go by so fast. I know when you're in it, it's like the day-to-day, it's really hard. You're dealing with a new baby, you're a new mom, you're a first-time mom, and you're also dealing with healing yourself internally and externally. It is a lot. Love on yourself. You are perfect. That scar is how your baby got here. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Hey, you gonna get this mom body, baby, okay? That's what I was telling my husband. You gonna get this mom body. And he has absolutely no problem with my C-section scar. I don't even think he's never mentioned it. He has never, ever mentioned it or said anything about it or nothing. He just, look, he gonna get it one way or the other, okay? He don't care about no C-section scar. And I doubt your man does either, boo. They don't care. They don't care about that, girl. They barely care if you wax. They don't care. I hope you found this video useful. Again, I have placenta previa and I'm doing just fine. And you'll do just fine too. So I know it's really scary when you get diagnosed with placenta previa. Just take care of yourself. Take it easy. Don't overwork yourself. Don't do too much. You don't want to, you know, prematurely spot or bleed or do anything or pick up anything that's too heavy where you're putting pressure on your body. Take it easy, mama. Put your feet up, okay? Being pregnant is a time to let people, you know, it's the time to let people treat you like a princess. You need to be waited on hand and foot. That's how I feel. Take care of yourself. Don't overwork yourself. We don't want you to be put on bed rest. But if you are put on bed rest, that's okay too. Get your rest. Take your time. The only thing that matters is that you are safe. Your baby is safe. Both of y'all are healthy and alive to live another day. If you have a previous cyst, just hang in there. You are going to be fine. Continue to educate yourself. Watch videos like this. Do your own research. Ask your doctor questions. Any question that pops in your mind, ask your doctor. If your doctor act like he or she doesn't want to answer your questions thoroughly, or if you feel like you're not getting the response you need, switch doctors. Okay, because we don't have time for doctors ignoring our feelings. Get your answers, do your research, and take care of yourself. And I promise you, you will be just fine. Previa or no previa, vaginal or C-section, giving birth to that baby and bringing them into this world healthy is all that matters. I hope you found this video helpful. I have linked my sources in the description. I've also linked the products that I mentioned in the description. So please leave a comment. Tell me what you think. Was this video useful? Did you find it helpful? Do you have any more questions about a previa? Honey, if I can't answer them, I will do my best to point you in the right direction. But in the meantime, please like, comment, and subscribe. I am going to be doing weekly vlogs, so I hope to see you back here again, and thank you so much for watching.